Welcome to Uncaged. Today we're speaking with Tony Siebers. Tony is the CEO of Family Media and Technology Group. He's also the co-founder of Parent Projects, and Parent Projects provides an AI-assisted digital marketplace to connect families that care for an aging loved one to local senior service-oriented resources and businesses, so everyone involved can effectively communicate the right expertise to the right person at the right time and drive confidence in the family caretaking, downsizing, and end-of-life projects. Now, that's a mouthful, but the reality is that we are all going to go through some of this at some point in our lives. As I mentioned to Tony before we started recording today, I've started to have these conversations with my parents on how they're going to shift their living. Are they going to move to a retirement community? What's going to happen next? And so it's an important one. So I'm glad that we're talking about this. But before we get there, Tony, tell us a little bit about you and your career.
I started I'm from Oregon originally, out of the Portland, Oregon market, and I went in the military. Wasn't planning on it as a kid, but found a path in there that I just really loved. Grabbed onto leadership, and the way that my brain worked really, really well. Commissioned in the mid-late 90s, and then had a great run at it. Obviously, the military I started in around 95 to 97 was just a very different military than I got out of about 2007, 2008. Yeah. The last decade was, I spent most of my career in, generally speaking, in emergency management type area. But then my last command was a long one in Iraq that really got eyes on watching public policy and how things are done. It was a large part of the transition of power of us being able to leave and turn over back to the Iraqi government for them to stand up, watching them come back online the same way that communities across the country were coming back online after emergencies. Yeah. Came back, got into corporate America and private America, really helping build out service organizations inside existing companies. And did it for private family offices, did it for large Fortune 500 companies like for Solar, Rural Metro and into AMR, American Medical Response on the ambulance side, public education. I think you were out of the Chicago market, I think originally. Yeah. Benedictine University, close to heart. Yeah. And bringing them here to the state of Arizona as an educational choice, those types of things. And then, right around 2015, actually right before November, Thanksgiving 2015, I had what I would later learn to be a parent project to deal with a grandparent, and just the difficulty of it, even for someone who had a lot of connections and generally understood what was going on. I just fresh from the medical side, I really felt I had a handle on where the medical stuff would come in, and it was just overwhelmingly difficult, exceedingly difficult. And I, for all silliness, after a lot of prayer, decided to become an entrepreneur like my parents were, and start a company. Couldn't, you sometimes trying to find people to do it the way that I really wanted to see it done. I couldn't see that done or felt it could be done.
Firstly, thank you for your service, but also thank you for starting this new service and solution, because this is clearly an important topic. And I actually feel it's a topic that doesn't get discussed. It's one of those topics that kind of is, everyone knows that it's somehow out there, but they don't want to get through it. And so let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit about what you've built here. What's the story of Parent Projects?
Well, it began as senior moves, as we started looking where a lot of people do. You start where you dig in. And for us, our first problem was we had to do a senior relocation. And the challenges of that led into understanding the real estate portions and the understanding, where do you go and the senior living looks like. Really over time, we came to understand as you share your knowledge with one person and the next person and the next person. And I've gotten to hear, man, I've listened to thousands of parent stories now, both on our own show or on another, talking with clients. It really, I came to understand that it's kind of a drip. There's a 3 to 5 year period of time today with technology gaps that creates this moment where younger adult children, but man, 35 to 65, really.
Yeah.
But the key spot, honestly, if you're talking, it's 50 to 65-year-old working moms, right? It
Yeah.
lands on their plate most of the time. They end up seeing that there's this slow drip in need of help as technology sets in. Mom and dad might be able to do for themselves, but the technology becomes an angle that's difficult, or
Right.
the way that we do this today becomes difficult. And then that just kind of runs to, generally it goes from family caretaking into an aging in place. Most all of us will try that and work from that. And then, about 14 to 15%, they say, now want to go on to senior communities, and there'll be a senior downsizing and a relocation. And then end of life, in a time where there's a lot of division, election season upon us, we all share that we're going to die and we
Yeah.
leave rock, right? And when we do that, and how we come to grips with that, we found is a big part of the platform. And it would need to account for really those 4 parent projects, and
Yeah.
then understand how people get on their own timeline from A to B.
Yeah. I mean, it's an important tool that we all need. And I can think of a couple of times in my life where I know this has impacted our family. One was when my grandfather passed, and a lot of that fell on my father to sort out. And it was just really mind-numbing for him. And now we're having a conversation with about him and my mother. So it's another moment as we go through all of these processes and thinking it through. And so just having resources like this out there that help that process is absolutely critical. But I can only imagine, starting this business in around 2016, where the parent project got going. You've had quite an interesting ride. I mean, I can only imagine what COVID was like. But here we are in 2024. Are there any trends that you're seeing right now that are kind of shifting the marketplace?
Yeah, I think, the one that there's a saying I favor, that when you know why, you can deal with a whole lot of how, right? And it's a paraphrase of that. But in understanding what they call the silver tsunami is the
Hmm.
trend that we all feel. We know it sits out there, but I'm going to put a name and something to it so it's less scary for us, right? The reality is, when we really started kicking off, we had about 35 or 40 million people that were on Social Security and Medicare. Not all sick,
Hmm.
but they were of age where they were on that.
Hmm.
Today we're crossing 50 million, and that those numbers continue. We'll get updated numbers here pretty shortly. Brother, by 2030, and that is right around the corner, it will be 90 million people. In general, we feel how much comes with that, and we're going to about double the number of people on that system in the next 5 years. And
Wow.
we know we see it in our lawmakers that are back east, trying to be like, I think everybody understands the gig's up. They expected to fix the shortcomings of the system. That didn't get done. That's not a budget that comes and goes. That budget is locked in. In fact, most lawmakers are only talking about maybe 2% or 15% of all spending. The rest of it's all locked down there. So that money is going to get difficult to service a much larger group of people as that pinch comes on. You add technology shifts that are coming on top of that wave, and how people do, how do they shop, how do you make the most of your dollar shopping for travel, at what hotel you stay at, or what airplane you get. Can you get on an airplane without a cell phone today? My dad
Right.
had a really, really hard time, right? Even though totally capable dude. But you've got those challenges as technology gets into that. You can't change your cable company. They don't print anymore for you to review the contract. It's got to be texted to you. So
Yeah.
those things are leading us to kind of step in. The lack of form factor creates some challenges, and so hopefully we're seeing some of that change. Obviously, AI is enabling us to put our finger on those changes, I think, a little quicker, to make
Yeah.
sense that if we do that properly.
Tell me a little bit about that. AI is one of those topics that I would say was bubbling up for many, many years, but really last year, I feel like it reached kind of business critical mass in some form or fashion, and everyone started to talk about it. Tell me a little bit about how it's impacting your space.
Well, in general, you're talking about machine learning. And I think one reason the tipping point snuck up on us was, there AI is not a new thing. It started in the 50s, right? It became a danger to us because we didn't understand it well enough. And the United States military really lobbied hard with Congress to shut it down and to stymie it and just to slow it down so we could get our arms around it. That lasted so long. And then some technologies came out. I think we've known it for some time as machine learning, probably in the workplace, right? Those were adequate ways. The turn that it made was when we started applying it in some levels, following maybe some movies, and started making it look human, which I will be right up front with. I think it's wrong. I think it's the wrong direction to go. I think it's creepy, weird, dangerous.
Yeah.
Uh, the first community that I'm aware of that actually coexisted and lived with an AI technology, their average age was over 83. And they were spending more than 23 transactions a day living with an AI platform that was combating loneliness and
Yeah.
isolation and just talking to them. And it was because it was designed to look the way that it's like a glorified kind of light with
Mm-hmm.
an iPad, right?
Mm-hmm.
People will use it and find those things usable. But I think what happened was the niche and just the intrigue, it was able to touch that funny bone of keep me busy and let me be distracted for a moment. And it's the Furby. It became the Furby of the year, I think, last year, to maybe date myself or age
Yeah.
myself of watching my kids fight for those things.
I've seen a lot of this new technology touch onto the geriatric space. You have obviously countries like Japan that have rapidly aging populations, and probably no surprise, companies like Toyota and Honda have really embraced that marketplace to try to figure out how they can help people stay mobile. It'd be interesting to see. I feel like I've been reading about that technology for well over a decade, and I just haven't seen it rolled out yet. So I'm wondering, maybe I mean, maybe it's just too expensive. Maybe there's just maybe not enough
There,
utility there.
there was a lot. I mean, when really what you're talking about in the technology that grabbed hold, right? You're talking about these large language models, and originally, whenever anything first starts, it's
Yeah,
believe it or not, it's still archaic, and it was expensive to work through. It was like coming home, and the only way to participate in this was you had to flip every light on in your house at the same time. Well, now
yeah,
we're learning, we're getting smarter, and it didn't take very long for us to figure out, well, we're putting together business models and enough people playing it that I can walk in and I just turn the light on in the bathroom in the middle of the night. And then if I
yeah,
need to turn other lights on because I lost my glasses, I can do that. And I think those things, those are helping us make it scale. I
yeah,
think another major thing that we see is large, just change is hard. I've worked in change my entire career, military and outside of the military. A lot of starting a service organization in an existing company is all about change management. How do you take the key leaders that are in there and the people that have the ego, but really the knowledge and the wisdom to lead
hmm,
a particular area? How do you not challenge them, but instead pour into them and see themselves in that next place? And one of the challenges here that we really had for a long time with AI was probably understanding how it would play in and not just absolutely overtake us. There are real
yeah,
dangers there.
yeah,
I think there are real dangers there. But now we're seeing multiple forms of how it goes into play. And I think, aside from, we're not an open AI kind of run off of that. There's a lot of people that do, and by the way, call
mm,
themselves AI. They just use someone else's model and co-pilot out that way.
yeah.
That I'm not going to take away from that. I mean, they figured out a great way to use that service.
Let's change gears a little bit, Tony. I listening to your career, you have dealt with, I would say, a lot of high pressure situations, right? You've been, in the military, obviously, but also in the medical profession, and certainly this is a high pressure moment when people go through this process when they're trying to figure this stuff out. There's a lot of anxiety. Where do you find you must have like a passion for this or some type of joy that you find a way when you resolve these things. I'm just trying to understand really what keeps you going on this stuff.
Drive. What's interesting is for the first 5 years of this venture, it's my calling. This is my faith. This is my calling. I know
Yeah.
it is. Of all the things that I've done and things that didn't make sense and things that were let down, I would take 100% of them every single time again because it absolutely formed my ability to see and recognize the gap and the opportunity, and then to galvanize the right people who wanted to
Yeah.
jump on that opportunity and run. And I could have
Yeah.
never seen all of it if I didn't have any of it.
Yeah.
So I think that my faith, for me personally, that is a huge piece of how I show up when it's hard. The first 5 years, I'm 40-year-old, 40 to 45, like, early 40-year-old, guy, man comes out of the
Mm-hmm.
military with a pretty keynote, subject matter expertise from that. And my friends are like, so you help old people move now? Like, what do you do? And it's like, oh, I mean, if you knew some of my other life, I mean, it's a big change. Those that know me know that this is like a, and
Yeah.
there's no jig break to handle that. It's loud. I guess there is. It's loud. Everybody hears it coming. It's
Yeah.
been difficult to pivot some of those skills. It's difficult to pivot M&A and my passions in M&A and in building economic development over into like fundraising and startups and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. But I love the challenge. I'll
Yeah.
say this: to understand me is to know, here's my brain in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
It is music as a core. When I came into the military, I actually came on to start as a bandmaster and
Oh,
to
wow.
direct big Army bands, the best musicians, best paying music in the world, for especially a young musician coming out, right?
Yeah.
Solid job, amazing musicians around, travel around the world, everything's paid for, pretty cool
Yeah.
stuff. That to the needs of the Army, fine print at the bottom changed very quickly, and they decided where you go, and they cut that out of the officer corps and gave that to warrant officers under just before graduation.
Hmm.
But that said, my brain still sees a problem, and same with the parent project. Like an orchestra, I can look at
Yeah.
what's a business plan, or it's a family's project plan. I can see the words and I hear the music when it
Ah.
goes, and I see the sections and the teams and how they break down. And is it an individual who can't hear? Can they just not hear the next person to them? Do they not have a skill? Is it a
Mm-hmm.
technical problem? Solving little problems that might fix everything and put it in place, but if something's out of whack or you do the wrong thing first, you might get there. It's just not going to sound the same or as intended.
I like that description. I mean, managing and organizing and integrating music, musicians, and getting it to sound right and go in the right direction is not easy. And certainly all these elements that you're managing right now, to get them to be harmonic in any way is not going to be easy either. But I mean, certainly 2024 presents another set of challenges for us. I mean, people are really concerned about the economic market, the interest rates, and
Yeah.
we've got elections, we've got the Olympics. It's a big year. I think also you have kind of a moment where people seem to be distancing in their own personal memories, COVID, and kind of moving forward, but tell me a little bit about what's on the horizon for the parent projects and family media and technology group in 2024.
Well, this is a big time of growth for us. So we're taking that beta product that came out of the Phoenix marketplace to understand, and we're now out to train our markets and moving out nationally to train both the intelligence and the machine learning that we put into place. We're looking also to understand those regional differences between winter in Chicago versus winter in Phoenix when you're working on it, how that impacts a move or a decision making and all of that. Those were things that would take us years to do before as a human being, and now this thing can learn so fast. We're able
Yeah.
to put that together really within a matter of 12 to 15 months. So it's really a big year for that. We're bringing on a lot of great partners. We're growing the team. For everybody now starting to fall into that expertise, that lane of just their mastery,
Mm-hmm.
and the concert of that is great. When you look at a composition piece, maybe to go back to the music side, the last 3 years have been, first year I'm looking at a very complex piece where everybody's like, yeah, nobody's going to get enough people to sit down and play Rachmaninoff. Like, that's not all going to happen. There's no way you can put that together, right?
Yeah.
And now everybody's hearing it. Like, dress rehearsals have been going on. They're like, dang, this is a thing. Like,
Yeah.
this actually can happen. And that has been super, super exciting.
Yeah.
As we welcome on these operating partners, and we changed a lot. So originally Parent Projects was kind of sat in the middle and brought together businesses and families, and we sought ourselves in the middle. Today we know we're the businesses. We've
Right.
found a group of businesses that we've galvanized that have said, okay, look, I'm good not buying a referral or a lead, and instead I'm going to put my information in a way that families want to see it, and I'm going to let them hit the connect button and connect to me when that timing's right for them.
I think we need this. We need it everywhere, Tony. We
Yeah.
need more of it. So kudos to you. It's an amazing process that you've gotten it this far. And certainly, I'm very excited to see where this goes in the near future. It's also a topic that people are going to want to learn more about. So I think I really need to find out, where's the best place to reach you and the team to find out more.
Yeah. Thanks be to God, and thank you. I think it is going to be an awesome year for that. You can find us more at parentprojects.com. You can
Excellent.
find us, follow us, join us at Parent Projects, plural, on any of your favorite socials and any of the sites that you might sit against. That's where you're going to find. You can even just throw that into the browser and you'll find us there. So yeah, that's easiest way to find us anywhere you're at.
Excellent. Well, Tony, thank you so much for being on the show today. We've been speaking with Tony Siebers. He is the CEO of Family Media and Technology Group. He's also the co-founder of Parent Projects, and we've been really going through the history of Parent Projects and really Family Media and Technology Group as well to talk about really the service and the solutions that they've brought to market to help individuals and families figure out that latter part of life, where they're going to go, where they're going to live, how they're going to be taken care of, and really deliver a technology powered solution to make that happen. Tony, thank you so much for being on the show today. We look forward to having you back.
Thank you again.